I think one of the great things about neuroscience is I think a lot of these have gut instincts about what is the right way to lead people, but often they need a bit more confidence about what are the things that actually do help people focus and perform. And I think neuroscience helps to give them that confidence about what are the right things to do. So in the book we explore, sometimes I think part of the beauty of neuroscience is it can be quite small things make a big difference to our brains. So it's little things like if people have got goals stretching out over a year, 2 years, how do you break those goals down so that people feel today, this week, I've achieved something, I've done something? Because the very fact of achieving a goal generates dopamine in our brains, and dopamine is this lovely chemical that in the right balance helps us to focus, helps us to form, makes us feel good, and puts our brains in a good place to get on with that next task, that next challenge at work. So things like how do you break goals down so people feel they've achieved something today, this week? Or things like if people are struggling with change, reminding people of past successes, because almost the very experience of thinking about a past success is almost like experiencing it again. And again, it generates dopamine in our brains. It makes us feel good. So if people are struggling at work, get them to talk about a time when they succeeded, when they did something well, something they feel proud of, things like that. And there are all sorts of things like, and we know recognition and reward is important to people, but again, the neuroscience backs up getting recognition for a job well done is rewarding to our brains, puts our brains into a good place. Especially unexpected recognition, our brains really like that. And other little things like novelty, our brains, one of the challenges for our brains really is we get bored quite easily. So how do you bring a bit of novelty into the workplace to keep our brains interested in things? Not too much novelty, because too much novelty adds up to lots of change. Lots of change means lots of uncertainty, and our brains don't like that. So it's things like that. Other aspects are things like our brains crave certainty, they want information. So I think if in doubt, and it's always a challenge in organisations about how much do you communicate around change, go too soon and you might have to reverse things and say that you've got things wrong, go too late, the organisation's filled with speculation and rumour. Neuroscience would say go early, because if we haven't got information, we do start to speculate and we're distracted and it takes up lots of energy. So things like information, and at the same time, our brains like to achieve their own insights. So at the same time, it's about giving information to employees, but giving people time to look at the information, to look at the data, and to come to their own conclusions about why this is the right course of action. Because if we feel we've chosen that course of action, then we're much more committed to it and we'll be much more committed to those changes. So again, how can leaders do that? How can they provide information, but also give employees that chance to have their own moments of insight? There are other interesting things I think we often wonder about. Should we talk about emotions when we're going through change? Is that a dangerous thing to do? Should we just push it under the carpet and not talk about it? Neuroscience say absolutely you should let people talk about emotions. The very fact of labelling a negative emotion, of saying I'm really worried about this or I'm really angry about this, actually reduces the emotion. Not that you want people to wallow in it, but actually allowing people to talk about it does help them to deal with the emotions of going through change.